property. It could be for a number of things, but the policy that was written demonstrates that the repayment of funds will be allocated to the Community Development Block Grant account to be distributed according to the grant guidelines. And like I said previously, we have received 2 checks back and in the amount of $653.30 total from the $900,000.
Any questions, commissioners, on the policy? Anything else you'd like to add to the policy before we vote? We have it, so. Okay. Commissioners, do I have a motion to approve the income policy?
Motion to approve.
A motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Commissioners approve it. Thanks for your support, though. Appreciate
Thank
it.
you.
9 is a request consideration of resolution of intent to close the access road off Perry Williams Road. Planning Director Tracy Parrish is here with us tonight. Tracy?
Thank you. The first item tonight, I will just refer back to our map so you can kind of get a visual of this. This is going to be consideration of the resolution of intent to close an access road off of Perry Williams Road. The property, if you look down on the below area, is part of our GIS system now. It's owned by Over the Tracks LLC. And there is a, for what we call a paper map, still out there registered with the Register of Deeds office. Originally, the paper map was going to be used because they were going to subdivide the property back many years ago. And this was recorded back, I think, 1960 something, to subdivide the property back into 6 different tracts. The family has decided that there's no longer a use for that, and there's no actual road there. So we are going through the proper steps to, according to general statutes, to request to close the road. The first step would be tonight to go through the resolution requesting to hold a public hearing next month and a decision next month. And myself and the clerk will post notices according to general statutes. So tonight I'm asking for approval of the resolution to hold the public hearing next month. And I'll be glad to answer any questions.
Any questions, Commissioner?
Motion to approve.
A motion and a second to approve the resolution of intent to close the access road off Perry Williams. All in favor, please say aye.
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 All opposed? All right, so Commissioners, we'll hear from that next month, Tracy, right? The next steps in that.
That's correct.
All right. Item 10 is request approval of proposed map amendment to Richmond County Ordinance RZM 2024-1. Tracy, and you as well.
Thank you. So just a recap of this rezoning 2024-1. In your agenda packets for tonight, I have included the same information from previous meetings. You have the staff letter response to the supplement letter from Regional Land Use Action Committee. We have the supplemental letter from Regional Land Use Advisory Committee, We have the response information that was provided by the applicant and the staff analysis with no changes as originally presented. I'm just going to recap just a couple of things before you go into discussion and vote. With this reconvening, we continue to consider all uses, some of which were listed on the staff analysis. There's cell towers, sand mines, churches, manufacturing and processing, which may be located within the heavy industrial zoning district. Consider the reasonableness analysis suggestion factors, and they are: does the size and physical attributes of the site, the benefits and detriment to the landowners, the neighbors, and the surrounding community, how the actual and previously permitted uses of the site relate to the newly permitted uses, any changed conditions warranting the amendment, and other factors affecting the public interest. As well, consider any defined heavy industrial attributes for these parcels. that the land's adjacent to heavy industrial lands across the street with another sand mine. It has good access to transportation, being adjacent to the rail and Highway 1 with reasonable area for expansion. And both properties have sparsely dense residential homes nearby. Since the public hearing was closed last month, there will not be any additional contributing comments from the public or from the applicant. But as you review uses and reasonableness, you are welcome to ask any direct questions. I do want to clarify, this board cannot put conditions on this zoning. This zoning request to heavy industrial is going to either be reasonable or you find it not reasonable. Buffers, fencing, height restrictions, all are in the ordinance as required on any permitted use in the heavy industrial area, or in this case, would be part of the specifics of the sand mine special use hearing that they would go through on the next step before the Board of Adjustments. So this is your step to determine whether it should be rezoned as heavy industrial or not. Your decision to approve or deny will integrate the consistency and reasonableness statements. So you'll either find the zoning to be consistent with the land use plan and reasonable through thorough examination of the information provided from the agenda packet, staff analysis, the planning board recommendation, considerations of any public hearing comments and discussion, or two, you find the rezoning to be consistent with the land use plan but not reasonable through thorough examination of the information provided from the agenda packet, staff analysis, the planning board recommendation, considerations of any public hearing comments, and discussion. So at this time, I'll be glad to answer any questions. Like I said, the public comment period closed out last month, so this would be a discussion among commissioners.
Any questions for Tracy? Commissioners, before we vote?
And I have a map. I'll be glad to put the same map back up if needed.
So Tracy, you mentioned infrastructure in terms of rail and highway.
Mm-hmm.
Are there other infrastructure that would be in place in consideration of heavy industrial, i.e. power, water, sewer, et cetera, to this property?
So at this point, there is no sewer that runs back to that property. There is water that stops out on US 1. There's, of course, the US 1 highway and the adjacent rail on the back side of the property.
So in terms of power infrastructure, would it be considered?
It's not a heavy, in other words, it would not be similar to Duke Energy or the Industrial Way Energy Park, where the two are very close together to service each other.
Tracy, approving this heavy industrial basically gives the company the opportunity to mine more acreage on that site. Is that a fair assessment?
Yeah, this would be the first step in their process. According to the ordinance, their steps would be to rezone it, request to rezone it to heavy industrial. And then if it were a heavy industrial zoning area, then at that point they would go on to a special use permit process, which is what they call a quasi-judicial. It's kind of a smaller type hearing that's expert witness testimony and that type of thing that's done before the Board of Adjustment. This is, if the property had been already zoned heavy industrial, they would not have had to go through this step. They would have proceeded on to the following step.
So RULAC had some specific considerations that unfortunately we can't address at this point in the process with our ordinance. It's my understanding that would be covered in the special use permit process. However, if the company decided to sell the property in the next 12 months before they proceeded with mining, how would the special use permit apply in the future or in regards to the sale if it transfers ownership?
So I understand you correctly. The special use permit, when they apply for the special use permit, that follows the land specific to that use. We look at doing some type of what they call a text amendment to that area, it would not be specific to those properties. It would be more of a blanket type operation for anything that is in that flight path, so to speak, on the height. Now, having said that, if they go through the process and they are, the board can put additional contingencies on there if they're reasonable. But they probably would not put one for a sand mine for height restrictions just because it would not be necessary. But they could look at something, and they may look at putting it in there since there were some regional land use information. So regional land use has to come out and give their opinion both here and there. So we would look at doing some kind of whatever they requested to kind of be coherent with RULAC at that point.
And that would be during the special use
And that would be during the special use permit, yes. There's two types of zoning. There's what's called a conditional zoning, which was more of a legislative type piece, which means at this point in this meeting, you could go in and put some restrictions on specific properties, but our ordinance is not set up that way. It's not really advised through general statutes to go that way. So we choose to do a two-step type process where you do a rezoning piece of it, and then either it's a permitted use or a special use permit.
So in the future, if we bring up either a text amendment or a revision to how we lay out heavy industrial, would that retroactively apply to this property?
If the use changes, it could. On that, because the special use permit would be more specific to what they're actually requesting. I don't know if I'm answering quite.
I guess the consideration I'm trying to have is based off of RULAC's concern we can't recall on the height requirements. We've heard the intent, but if they were to sell the property before the intent is carried out, and somebody decided they wanted to put something that was heavy industrial with some height considerations, is there a way for us to address that concern after the fact?
No, you would actually, it would be a grandfathered in property at that point. But the goal is, regardless of this rezoning, there are several things in the ordinance that need to be brought up to today, and that's one of those things that we are looking at very closely, very quickly on that. Not just for this property, but for any of those properties that are affected out there, either rural residential or heavy industrial. Because on the if it remained rural residential, there's nothing that couldn't say that a cell tower could go out there. So we want to make sure that we capture some of that by fixing that text amendment fairly quickly on there.
Mike, did you mind following up on that, sharing any thoughts around how that text amendment would work?
Do you want me to do that now, or do you want, I'd probably prefer to do that not today, because we don't have any information that any land is being sold, and we're doing a hypothetical upon hypothetical. And I'd like to look at that to determine whether or not, how best to answer your question as accurately as possible. All of that said, I think one of the things that Tracy is pointing out is that there is a need for text amendments in our zoning ordinance so that we don't have to try to split hairs going forward. And the caution that I would give everybody is that if there's any ambiguity in our current statute, all ambiguities are always construed in favor of the applicant and for the free and open use of the land, unrestricted use of the land. So this is why rather than say, what if this or this hypothetical, no matter what, you're going to have to do a text amendment to the ordinance because it's antiquated. It's not up to date, as Tracy said. So I think with the text amendments that would be coming at a later time that you all have control over, you'll be able to take care of all the issues that you're talking about. Now, as to this particular property and whether or not, under a hypothetical, it might be sold, for instance, between any action that the commissioners take here and the time that goes before the Board of Adjustment for the special use permit, we don't have any information that's going to happen. It doesn't seem reasonable that they would go through all of this process to sell the land. And it looks like they're going forward with the, if approved by the commissioners, they'd be going forward with step 2, as they normally would do. So I think we have protection, as much protection as we can get under the current language of our ordinance. But long story short, we are going to have to, at some point in the near future, amend it with a text ordinance. We're going to have to do a text amendment to it.
Mike, if we do not approve and we correct the ambiguities and the problems with the ordinance, how long would it be before they could come back and reapply?
The problem with that is that they're entitled under their current application to this, to our ordinance as it currently exists. Okay, you can't just say, I wish our ordinance was different, I wish our ordinance had different requirements in it. Our ordinance is not. Okay, we've got our 2-step process, which we've had. This just happens to be one time where someone has asked for a rezoning. It's subject to the 2-part process that Tracy just explained, tonight's vote, and if approved, a hearing with the Board of Adjustment for special use permit, in which case all of the quasi-judicial issues with experts and soil and content, all the issues that have been raised are resolved at that part 2. What you can't do is say, well, we don't like our ordinance now, so we're just not going to allow them, because they properly complied, as best I can tell, with every single component and requirement of our current ordinance. And they're entitled under North Carolina law to a vote.
Any further questions? Commissioner?
So at the special use hearing, the military and any other interested party would have an opportunity, and would this board be represented by legal counsel in that?
Good.
So if approved, when would the special use permit be recognized? When would the board meet, or the Board of Adjustments meet?
So at the last meeting, they actually had a packet ready to present should that go forward on approval. So it would be something within the next 60 to 90 days that would go before the Board of Adjustments. It goes through not the same general statute publications that we have to go through for a legislative hearing like tonight, but it does go through some formality steps that we have to go through as far as publishing, notifications, postings, things of that nature.
Any further discussion?
Just for clarification for me, I'm probably asking the same question, maybe a different angle. So if we approve this today, it goes to a second meeting. At that second meeting, the concerns of the citizens, as well as ours, that is the place where that is heard and they're represented, where it's determined what type of provisions and amendments are made to fencing or hedging or setbacks or anything like that. That is the place for that.
That's correct. That's the way our ordinance is set up.
So our approval tonight just makes it possible that their concerns can be heard and addressed.
Correct, that's step 2.
Any further discussion? If not, I'll make the motion to approve the amendment and approve the rezoning to heavy industrial. Do I have a second? Okay, is there another motion?
Motion to disapprove.
Is there a second?
Second.
I have a second, which means I take it to a vote. All in favor of disapproving the rezoning, please say aye. All y'all? Okay. All in favor of not in, or obviously against the disapproval, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Okay. You gotta vote yes.
No, you just voted for it. You voted to disapprove.
To disapprove.
Yeah, I'm voting against that.
I mean, I thought.
Commissioner Maples,
Yes.
which way?
To disapprove it.
Okay. So the majority is 6-1 when you vote to disapprove.
Okay, we just polled the commissioners. It was difficult to hear the back and forth that went just.
All the commissioners that are in favor of approving, or not in favor of approving the rezoning, please raise your hand. And Commissioner Maples at home as well. So that's 6.
Okay, Dina's got it now.
Yep.
Thank you.
Commissioners have made a decision. Thank you. Thank you, Commissioners. Item 11 is a request approval of advertisement of tax liens on real property for failure to pay taxes. Vegas Jackson's here with us tonight.
Thank you, Chairman, members of the board. I'm here to ask the board to approve, to give us approval to advertise tax liens in the newspaper on June 22nd, 2024. That will make the last day to pay to not end up in the paper, June 14th, 2024. As of right now, we got about 4,178 names.
Any questions there, Commissioner?
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve the advertisement of tax liens. Do I have a second?
Second.
A second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed.
Thank
you.
Thank you.
Item 12 is a proclamation for Older American Month. And Brian Nanner, our county manager, will be discussing this. Brian?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As you stated, the next item on our agenda is our proclamation for Older American Month. We typically do this in the month of May annually. I'm requesting board approval for this proclamation as written in your packets.
So a motion to proclamation approval.
Motion to approve.
Have a motion and a second?
Second.
And a second. All in favor, please say aye. All opposed. Commissioners have approved the proclamation for Older American Month.
Thank you, sir.
Item 13 is a request approval of Richmond County JCPC board appointments. Brian?
Yes, sir. This next one is a request to our board of approval for our Richmond County JCPC nomination of new board members and reappointment of expiring members. Richmond County JCPC met on February the 19th of 24 and recommended Alex Harris to serve as a board member of the position of District Attorney Designee for the duration of the term, which is 23 through 25, to replace Tracy Grimes, who resigned to accepting employment outside of the Richmond County District Attorney's office. At the April 15th meeting, JCPC recommended Mr. Lane Harrison to serve as a board member in the position of the County Commissioner appointee. Mr. Harrison is employed with Richmond County Sheriff's Department. Following board members' terms will expire in June of 24, and all have agreed to serve another term. The JCPC Board recommends reappointment and extend for another term. The new term will run for the fiscal year 24 through 26. Emily Nicholson, Vice Chairperson, Alcohol and Drug Services. Linda Ross, Pastor at Faith Assembly Outreach Ministries in Dobbins Heights. Maurice McQuarrie, Director of Hamlet Parks and Rec. I'm asking that you approve these recommendations from JCPC.
Motion and a second for the approval. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Request to approve. Thanks, Brian. Item 14, request board approval of Richmond County JCPC FY 24-25 annual plan.
Yes, sir. As you stated, this is for approval of their annual plan, their certification, and their funding plan. Attached in your package, you will see the 24-25 annual plan, certification, and funding plan for our Board of Commissioners to review and their final approval. On April 17th, Richmond County JCPC Board met and agreed to continue the funding cycle they're currently on, which is a one-year cycle. The attachments in your packet are the 24-25 Richmond County JCPC annual plan, 24-25 JCPC certification, and 24-25 JCPC initial funding plan. I'm asking you to approve as all of those were written as well.
Any questions? No, I'll ask for approval or motion.
Motion to approve.
Have a motion, do I have a second? Have a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Commissioners approved annual plan. Thanks, Brian. Item 15 is proclamation for Peace Officers Memorial Day and National Police Week.
Yes, sir. Another proclamation, but this proclamation really hits home with a recent tragedy we've had in Charlotte. Obviously, we had some local ties there as well. But this proclamation is recognized May 15th as Peace Officers Memorial Day and the week of May 12th through the 18th as National Police Week. With the passage of a joint resolution in Congress in 1962, President John F. Kennedy was asked to designate May 15th of each year as Peace Officers Memorial Day and the calendar week which May 15th occurs as National Police Week. Since the presidential proclamation first enacted by President Kennedy, Peace Officers Memorial Day and Police Week have designated each May to commemorate law enforcement officers in past and present who have rendered dedicated service for their communities. For several years, it's been customary for this board to join with Congress and the President to take the opportunity to honor the courageous deeds of law enforcement officers by adoption of this proclamation. I'm asking that you approve this proclamation as written.
Motion to approve. Have a motion, have a second? Second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Proclamation for Peace Officers Memorial Day and National Police Week is approved by Commissioners. Item 16, proclamation for Memorial Day.
Yes, sir. I'm asking also that you approve this proclamation for our board to approve and honor the veterans of Richmond County and in recognition of Memorial Day on May the 27th.
Have a motion to approve, have a second?
Second.
Have a second. All in favor, please say aye. Commissioners approve proclamation for Memorial Day. Item 17, proclamation for clerks to the Board of Commissioners Week. Brian?
Yes, sir. Next week is Miss Cook's week. It's all about her. North Carolina Association of County Clerks is requesting that Richmond County Board of Commissioners approve the proclamation recognizing May 5th through May 11th, 2024 as clerks to the Board of County Commissioners Week in recognition of all of their work that the county clerks do for our North Carolina government. Asking you to approve that proclamation.
Have a motion?
Motion to approve.
A motion to second? Second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Of course we're approving that. Item 18 is proclamation for World Multiple Sclerosis Day. Brian?
I'm requesting board approval once again to declare May the 30th as World MS Day in Richmond County.
Have a motion? Motion and a second. Several of them. All in favor, please say aye. All opposed? Proclamation for World Multiple Sclerosis Day is approved by Commissioners. Item 19, request approval of FY 24-25 budget work session.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. Currently, we're targeting Thursday, May the 16th for our 24-25 budget work session, and it will be held at Richmond County Airport. I'm asking that the board approve that date and time.
Motion to approve. Second.
Motion and a second to approve, you said
May 16th,
16th?
Thursday,
What was the start time?
airport. 1 o'clock, the actual meeting, but we will have lunch prior to. If you're available to join us for lunch, come 12:15 or so.
All in favor, please say aye.
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 All opposed. Commissioners have approved the budget work session. Item 20 is reappointment to Richmond Community College Board of Trustees, right?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. RCC Board of Trustees has requested that Mr. Jerry Austin be reappointed to the RCC Board of Trustees for another term. His current term expires June 30th of this year.
Motion to approve the reappointment and have a second. All in favor, please say aye.
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 All opposed. Reappointment for Jerry to the Board of Trustees is approved by the Commissioners. Item 21 is request approval of resolution for water shortage response plan.
Yes, sir. This is another requirement related to North Carolina General Statute 143-355-1 that our local government will provide public water services and will also provide a water shortage plan as required by that general statute. I'm asking that you approve that plan as written.
Have a motion?
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve, have a second? Second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed. Commissioners have approved the resolution for water shortage response plan.
Thanks, sir.
Item 22 is monthly report by our county manager.
All right, thank you. The last 2 weeks around Richmond County have been jam-packed with a full gamut of exciting events around our county. We're blessed to have many events that draw people from outside of our county. The impacts to our local economy are extraordinary. We had Spring Fest held in downtown Rockingham with our own Eric Hawks and Jonathan Robinson headlining. Also prior to Spring Fest, First Help and Discovery Place Kids hosted a 5K and fun run for the first time since COVID. The Cole Auditorium played host to the Dance Machine America's National Dance Competition that boasted almost 5,000 employees throughout the weekend from 3 states. Dragway played host to the Spring Truck Jam and the Civil Wars, while the Speedway hosted the Zambini Family Circus. And the Lynch Shooting Facility hosted the state sporting clay competition, which had over 2,500 attendees. The only issue, as always is the issue, is we don't have ample hotel rooms to house all these folks that are coming to Richmond County. So the last 2 weeks have been great for us. I did want to touch on one more event that we had. Our National Day of Prayer event last week, which is always a highly attended event. If you haven't been to that ceremony, it's a heartwarming ceremony. I try to attend every year, but it was a great event as well, once again. Hats off to all the folks that plan that every year. Segueing a few of our updates from our tax department, we continue to constantly track our tax collections and our percentage because obviously we're nearing the end of our budget year. Our team in collections continues to do a strong job with our collections. As of this morning, we stand at a 96.75 collection rate. For comparison, at the end of May last year, we were at a 97.25% rate. So we obviously do have a little bit of work still ahead of us. For comparison, at the end of April 23, our final collection was a 96.61. Fast forward to April 2024, we're 96.68, so we are tracking strong with that, breaching our all-time April rate as well. Volume in our collection department should start to tick up as more of those delinquent taxpayers are paying before the names are published in our local newspaper coming out in June, as Mr. Jackson mentioned earlier. The tax department will be mailing out those delinquent notices later this week, as June 14th will be noted as the last day to pay before names will be published in our paper. Solid waste report is as follows. We picked up a total of approximately 7.1 tons of 34 different roadways throughout Richmond County with our staff and DOT staff. Household Hazardous Waste Day was held last month. It was a great success. We're almost able to fill a complete tractor trailer with items that aren't typically accepted at our 9 box sites throughout the county. We had 103 cars that came to the event. with around 3 tons total being collected. Lastly, our 2024 Spring Litter Sweep campaign was also a great success. We had a very strong turnout. We had around 54 volunteers picking up 516 pounds of litter along our streets and roadways in Richmond County. Additionally, many of those volunteers have agreed to start picking up our roadways on a routine basis and not just waiting for the fall litter sweep and the spring litter sweep. So we're really excited about that. Thanks again to all those businesses, industries, and other local groups that participated. Thanks to Jacqueline Welch, Brian Leggett, and Jerry Austin for spearheading that event annually. Transitioning to our shell building project, crews from Haas Contracting broke ground on shell building number 6 at our 74 Bypass Industrial Park around 2 weeks ago. This is a project Marty and I have been talking about, it seems like, for 5 years, but finally broke ground. Glad to see that one get off the ground. The project's progressing well. All the erosion control measures have been installed, and crews are grading the building pad for the initial concrete pour, which will take place in approximately 2 weeks. The $2.5 million grant funded project is slated to be completed by mid-November. Marty and I are obviously excited about this project, having a 40,000 square foot industrial building in our war chest to market. So companies looking to call Richmond County home. Segueing to our 24-25 budget. Budget season is progressing well. Everyone has been extremely busy the last few weeks. We're coming up on our budget as well as our 8-year revout process. We aren't balanced yet, but we are heading progressing in the right direction. We're still meeting almost daily with department heads and our team in finance office, led by Kerry Gardner and Missy. I want to continue to personally thank all of our department heads, many are here tonight, for the outstanding jobs they've done with their budgets and meeting the challenges at hand with this year's budget. With that being said, all of our department heads should be commended on their efforts during the budget process, as most of their budgets are coming in with minimal increases when you back out salaries. We all continue to work vigorously to find alternate methods of funding, grant opportunities, any other opportunities to lessen the burden on our taxpayers of Richmond County. I have a few more brief reminders I want to mention to the board before I wind things down this evening. Our next revow meeting will be tomorrow at the airport at 3:30. And also to recap, our budget work session, Thursday, May 16th, 1 o'clock as well. Lunch around 12. And we will be closed Monday, May the 27th, in observance of Memorial Day. And that's all I have this evening, Mr. Chairman. I'll be glad to answer any questions you may have.
Any questions for County Manager?
Will the budget books be ready, Brian?
Sir?
Will the budget books be ready?
Friday. Yes, sir.
I'll send an email when I got them ready.
Any other questions?
Thank you,
Brian,
guys.
appreciate you.
Yes, sir.
Item 23 is a resolution for the County of Richmond to direct the expenditure of opioid settlement funds. Robbie Hall is with us here tonight to discuss this with us. Hey, Robbie.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and Board. What I'm bringing before you is a request from the Richmond County Sheriff's Department, Sheriff Mark Gullidge, to meet the requirements for substance abuse treatment within the jail. The request is for $41,215.97 of the Richmond County opioid settlement funds to implement an evidence-based addiction treatment program, including medication-assisted treatment with at least one FDA-approved opioid antagonist to persons who are incarcerated in Richmond County Jail. This would also align us with the new ADA rulings for substance abuse in jail and allow treatment to begin and potentially for referral after release from jail for continued services for substance abuse. The board resolution that you have meets all of the state county MOU requirements, and the program that was investigated for this is already certified and being used in other counties to provide this service. It meets the strategic planning also for the counties through the Drug and Danger Family Task Force. So I'd like to request
So Robbie, this is gonna be paid for in the money out of the opioid funds and taxpayer dollars.
Correct. One way or the other, based on the ADA requirements, et cetera, it would be a requirement to provide the service, from my understanding.
Motion to approve?
Second.
Motion and second to approve the resolution as explained. All in favor, please say aye. All opposed? Thanks, Robert, appreciate
Thank
it. Item 24 is our open forum for public comments. We have,
Public comments still on the agenda for public
Yes, ma'am, he's
comments?
getting ready to call you.
I'm getting ready to call.
Okay, I thought that was 23.
24 is the open forum for public comments. We have two on tonight's agenda. The first one is Pamela Simmons. Just state your name, Pam, and your address,
Yes.
and we'll go from there.
Pamela Simmons Young, 629 Oak Avenue, Hamlet, North Carolina.
You're welcome. Thank you.
All right. I'm here as a representative of the concerned citizens for our shelter animals. And we strongly request that volunteers be utilized as a vital part of the new contract in cooperation with the new leadership of the Richmond County Animal Shelter. And if possible, before the changeover takes place, so the new staff comes in more smoothly. It's extremely important to socialize our shelter animals, to prevent depression caused by confinement in cages and kennels in a strange, crowded, stressful environment. Even after a short time of confinement, an animal can become kennel crazy from the lack of fresh air, sunshine, and exercise. When this happens, the animals are often less adoptable and more likely to be euthanized. Volunteers can be a positive part of the Richmond County Animal Shelter in so many ways. They can assist with rescuing the dogs and cats, transporting animals to the rescue organizations and veterinary appointments, serving as fosters, helping with the clinics for spay-neuter, vaccinations, microchips, adoption events, and fundraisers. They can assist with exercising and walking the dogs and playing with and socializing the cats. Our community needs to come together to focus on responsible pet ownership and encouraging spay-neuter. Also at the shelter, volunteers can assist with taking pictures of the animals and using social media to encourage adoptions. Volunteers can also assist with office tasks such as paperwork, making copies and filing, and helping potential adopters to tour the shelter and pick out the right animal for them according to their lifestyle and environment at home. So we have less returns to the shelter. They can also assist with following up on spay-neuter and making sure that the animals that are going out are receiving that service before they leave. We also need to maintain a do not adopt list for certain people that have had problems in the past with hurting our animals and killing our animals and allowing them to be in negative environments. Volunteers can save the taxpayers money, but more importantly, they can make a difference in the lives of the many animals that come through the shelter. Our group wants kind, compassionate, knowledgeable people working as employees at the shelter. And the volunteers will need to have those same character traits. In closing, I hope that all of you commissioners understand that our group, the concerned citizens for our shelter animals, fully support the need for volunteers to assist with the many duties at the Richmond County Animal Shelter. There are members here of our group ready, willing, and able to become volunteers at the shelter, and we look forward to working cooperatively with the new director. Thank you for your time.
second speaker that's requested on the open forum is Melissa from Steve's Meats. Melissa? Hi, Melissa.
Hello, Commissioners, I want to thank y'all again for having me back again. Last time I was here, I was in the process of, I had just filed for our 501c3, and that was just recently approved. So we are, at the moment, continuing to move forward with trying to find a facility to offer all the services that we're gonna offer now and in the future, which is really gonna be several things, but, right now, we're currently working on our, annual overdose awareness rally, which will be our 4th annual rally. Then September, we're actually planning to have a walk for sobriety. That is gonna be intended to help hopefully raise money for Steve's Wings to give us the funds to be able to get out here, make plates for people for Thanksgiving, just anything in general that those in poverty or those in active addiction or even our veterans are in need of. Because everything that we do, with all due respect, we don't actually sit behind a desk. We really just get out, like I said before, we get out, do actual hands-on. We go into the worst areas that are drug infested, trying to make, an impact, because when they see us out there coming, they know what we're there for. So it's showing some, but we have several events that, we're gonna have to start trying to raise funds for, so that way we can try to keep giving these services. I'm currently trying to bring in people that are qualified to do certain jobs. Myself, I will actually graduate in 11 months with my bachelor's for substance abuse, also specializing in grievance for families that have lost someone. I'm fixing to have my peer support specialist certification, as well as one of my other board members. So we do have a lot going on. We've slow started. It's took us 4 years, but I'm very proud of it. And I wanted to ask each of y'all today if y'all would please just stand by us and help us, give us the encouragement or whichever to keep going. So, and I thank y'all for letting me come in today.
We all know how hard you've worked the last 4 years, and we're very proud of you for doing that. And I've worked with you closely with feeding, the veterans and the homeless, and y'all do a great job, and you continue doing a great job that you're already doing.
I appreciate it.
Melissa, you said y'all were looking for a place.
Yes, sir.
How big of a place? What do you need?
Right now, we are currently needing somewhere that's going to be able to, where we can have, because we are going to be a resource to help people get into detoxes. Help them get into other places, get medication, whatever they need. But we intend to have places, we want somewhere we need somewhere that's going to be big enough for us to have, like group therapy, special types of group therapy for families that have obviously lost a loved one to, overdose. It's, maybe somewhere, that we can, give somebody like a little lunch meal, for the day, because those that are in active addiction, I'm going to get personal on it a little bit. When we go out there on the streets and we're passing out our Thanksgiving plates, for instance, there's been several times where I've actually unintentionally, we ride around looking for people that are, in the areas where they're drug infested. But I have pulled up on several occasions to where there have been people actually digging in dumpsters, starving, and regardless of what their choice is, nobody should go hungry. So we want to make plates of food hopefully on a regular basis, not have a, kitchen and like a soup kitchen or anything, just something that we can actually feed them. If they need clothes, we want to be able to have a little, have a storage room to give them some clothes if they come in, asking for help. Just, we don't want to turn anybody away. And I want to charge for it, obviously. So I'm just, I've been out there so much for many years longer than what I've been doing what I'm doing now. And I've really seen the hardships, and that's all I'm trying to do is just trying to fix, make things a little easier, because Richmond County is in a desperate, we all know it's in a desperate need with the opioid issue. And as long as we keep trying to show those in active addiction, those needy families, even the veterans go through it too. And it's like, if we show them that we truly do care and we welcome them with open arms, you'll make a bigger impact, and that's exactly what I'm trying to do. So,
Thank you, I appreciate that.
thank you.
I just want to say that I know you personally and have worked beside you for a few years, and I really,
Absolutely.
I know what it takes for you to come up here. And
Yeah.
so you get very nervous, and you have publicly said, and I just want to say this for those in the room that don't know, you lost a child to addiction, and so it comes right here to home.
Absolutely.
As a true conservative person, I see you as being able to do more than $10, more with $10 than most organizations can do with 500, or 5,000.
We're penny pinchers for sure.
And I've seen you pull off some pretty amazing things, and are very conservative with how you spend and what you do, and people step up to help you because you know what it's like and you've been there.
Yeah.
And so thank you for sharing from your heart.
I appreciate y'all's time and listening.
Thank you. Commissioners, that brings us toward the end of our meeting for the evening. Before we close or ask for adjournment, I'll leave the floor open, and commissioners, if you would like to say anything. Okay, if not, I'll ask for a motion to adjourn.
I know.
No, sir, it's not you. Sorry, Kevin. No.
There's about 20 people
Kevin.
in here.
Kevin, you can't speak here, Kevin. You have to apply for, you have to follow the rules. I'm not being ugly, I'm just following the rules. So if you'd like to apply to talk at next month's meeting, you can. But you can't speak out, just stand up and speak. I'm sorry about that. Commissioners, I ask for a motion to adjourn. Have a second? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Meeting is now adjourned. Thank you for coming.